Hey there, and how's it going? My name's Kyle. Welcome back to Project 93. Today, we are fixing things so we can do stuff. All my equipment's broken. I'm not upset, it's just part of it. When you buy old used equipment, like this 1979 backhoe behind me, you just have to expect that things are going to break. Let's take a look at what's going on. I was walking by this machine the other day, wasn't even using it for anything, just was needing to scoot on by. And I noticed this massive puddle underneath. I thought to myself, that's not good. And it, hadn't been leaking anything that severe up till that point. So I got to poking around and noticed that it's diesel. That's a lot of diesel. In addition to diesel, it also leaks coolant. So we're gonna see if we can fix both of those leaks while we're working on it today. After we get done with this, we have some other repairs to make to other pieces of equipment, but we'll see how far we get first. So I don't know how much diesel this thing's gonna spew out. It seems like it's a low pressure return line. It's 92 degrees out here, so I'd really like to scoot this thing over to the shade so I'm not working on it in full sun. Let's see if we can fire it up and move it over to a shady spot so that we can work on it. Keep an eye over there and let me know if you see any diesel spewing out. Oh yeah, it's spewing everywhere. Let's go fast. That's $20 worth of diesel. I had planned to put this machine underneath the lean-to so I could work on it in the shade, on the concrete. But after seeing how much diesel fuel it's spewing everywhere, I don't want to have to try to clean that off the concrete, so we're going to leave it out here on the gravel. This spot's shady for now. It should be shady for the next couple of hours, so we'll try to get it done quick. Got to get the hood off so that we can get access and see what's going on here. There were wasps underneath this hood just a few days ago. I took out their nest, but they could be back, so I've got to be careful here. I don't see any. Famous last words. Getting this hood off is a lot easier as a two-man operation, but per usual, it's just me today. There we go. Okay. Let's lift this arm up out of the way and block it up so that it can't fall. It died. Not sure if we starved it for diesel or just what, but that's okay. At least it went all the way up first. So super important bit of safety information here. Anytime you're going to work underneath a loader, you want to make sure that you block it up somehow and don't just rely on the hydraulics to hold it up. Hydraulics can leak or fail, and if that happens and you're standing underneath them, the whole thing can come crashing down on you.
Shake hands with danger.
So this little safety block out, make sure that there's no way this thing can come down on top of you. So right there is where all of our diesel fuel is coming from. I don't know if you can tell just from looking at it there, but that fitting is completely broken. Let's see. Ouch, exhaust is hot. Watch that. Let's see. Can you see that? It's completely separated there. So I ordered another one of these fittings. We're gonna see about swapping it out and see if that takes care of our problem. While we're here, we're going to also address the other problem that we have. Leaking coolant right here. You can probably see it drip. Let's see, it'll drip here in just a second. There it goes. So it's kind of cracked where this turns into the radiator. Should be able just to solder that back together. This thing is covered in grime and gunk. So we're gonna scrub it and see if we can get it to be just a little bit cleaner before we go unhooking anything. I don't wanna clog up these diesel lines with junk. So I just have a little metal scrub brush here and some paper towels. Yuck. That is disgusting. My understanding is this is the low pressure return line for the diesel. So the diesel comes in at high pressure through this fitting here into the injector. Whatever doesn't get used comes back out through here and returns up to the tank. The reason this was leaking so bad is I just topped this machine off with diesel. And this sits lower than where the return fitting goes into the tank. And so the tank was full up to that return line or above that return line. So any diesel fuel that was sitting above that return line just slowly leaked out through this fitting until it found its way all over the engine and down onto the ground. Okay, I wouldn't eat off of that, but clean enough to do what we need to. 9/16. Rather be lucky than good any day. These aren't just exceptionally tight. We should be able to use an adjustable wrench. Once we get finished up replacing this one fitting, we'll probably go through and just make sure everything else is good and tight while we're here. Okay, there's one side loose. It's going to be a problem though. The line doesn't just slide right out of there. Might have to take it all the way apart. That wouldn't be good. Okay, what are the odds we can get this fitting out without having to undo all 4 of these? About to find out. What we don't want to do is crack another line by putting it at an odd angle. Yeah, no, I don't like that. Okay, let's crack the rest of these loose. This one's tough to reach. Luckily that exhaust has cooled down. Oh no. I think this one just broke in the same exact way as what the other one's broken. It did. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Well, the bad news is we no longer have what we're going to need to be able to fix this today. I only have one of these fittings. Seems like we may have to replace all 4. So let me order that and we'll work on whatever's next. That one came undone without hurting anything, so that's great. I actually may only need to order one more. Yeah, it just corroded through. Gross. We're going to unhook the line right here so that we can take this whole piece out of the way. This doesn't look very factory. Definitely didn't come with a soft line and a hose clamp right here, but yeah, the farmer who had it before me rigged it up and it's been working. So we'll put it back this way when we're done. Whew. Here's some of that diesel. So this was our original problem and it's the same problem that we're having with this other fitting. So this fitting is supposed to be a T. It would come out to about right here. You can see this portion corroded off and just broke. So we'll order one more of those and then we'll be able to put this back together, but I won't have it today. Next up, we need to get the nut off of this fitting and this fitting. Those are the ones that are corroded. So we need to get them out of the way and we'll just go ahead and make sure that the fitting that we have fits before we order another one. I don't rightfully know whether spinning this is going to get it off or not. Doesn't appear to be making any progress. I think I understand. Okay, so here's what's happening. There's an O-ring that is part of this fitting. It's kind of what seals it up. And there's a lip on the back side of this nut that seats against the O-ring. And that lip can't come off of the injector. So this is going to be more difficult than I imagined. Seems like what has to happen is you have to take the injector out. That, or you have to figure out how to get the leftover piece of that T-fitting out of here without taking it off, and that seems somehow more difficult. How do these injectors come out? I don't have any idea. With the amount of junk that's caked up around these injectors, I don't think it's a great idea to go pulling them out. I think that we're going to create more problems than we solve if we do that in its current state. So what I need to do is see about cleaning this up. I don't have anything on me today to make that happen. Probably going to take some degreaser and a little bit of water. Cap these off or be real careful around them and clean all this junk off of here. Then we'll have to pull the injectors out. Seems like you just crack this line. I'll show you on this one. Crack this line and undo this bolt here. You can't even tell that's a bolt. It's pretty sad. There you go. You can kind of see that it's hexagonally shaped there. So, yep, crack this line, undo the bolt here, and then the whole thing just kind of wiggles out real easy. And after that, replace them with the new ones and then get it all reassembled. But that is a project for another day. So let's switch gears here and see if we can fix the coolant leak. For the coolant leak, there seems to be a crack in this neck. This is the return line where coolant goes back into the radiator, and it's leaking from right underneath here. So what we'll do is we'll take this return hose off, clean up the underneath side, and resolder that back together. There's just a little crack there. I don't think the radiator is full enough that this is going to leak much, but I've been wrong before. This hose is kind of old and brittle, so we're going to try to be gentle with it. I'd like to not buy another hose if I can help it. Yeah, that's not full of coolant, so that's good.
You sure about that?
Let's undo it down here so we can swivel it. You able to see down there? Yeah, a little bit. Ooh, there's more coolant in there than I thought. Oh no. Yuck, what a mess. Seeing if I can get it to swivel on the bottom here. Seems kind of stuck. Yeah, doesn't appear to want to turn. Don't want to force it, or I'll be buying a coolant line too. If I didn't care if this lived or died, I could get it off, no doubt. It's the gentle part that's difficult. That looks like progress. There we go. We're just going to turn this on here sideways, facing the other direction for now. Help keep junk from falling into our coolant there. Okay. This backhoe is from back in the area of lead paint and asbestos. You can see a little dust coming off of that. Definitely not going to breathe that in. We'll be using an open flame here to solder this little crack. Now, I don't know if you remember or not, but the other side of this engine is absolutely coated in diesel fuel. The right thing to do would probably be to clean that diesel off by any means necessary. But I'm going to do the other thing and just have a fire extinguisher sitting behind me just in case. Little disclaimer here, I have never done this before. Going to start off trying to use MAP gas. Not sure if that even gets hot enough to do what we need to. If it doesn't, I do have oxypropane available, but I'd rather not have to drag that all out if I don't have to. Is that looking pretty clean? Looks like somebody has soldered this before. Not really surprised. That looks pretty good. I honestly have no way to tell whether that did what we needed it to or not, but we melted some metal into the crack and we didn't catch the backhoe on fire. So we'll count that as a win. Gonna let that cool off and I'll reattach that coolant line. Then we'll see about getting this all covered up. We'll have to come back with that other fitting that I've ordered for the fuel injectors in order to get this back operational. Problem for another day. You ever do that thing where sometimes current you forgets what past you did? Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, let's spin this around. Uh-oh, need that. Ah, we flipped it around. There we go again. Forgetting what past you did. All right. Is this going to seal up? Did I fix the crack? We unfortunately don't get to find out today because I can't fire it up due to the diesel issue. Normally, I don't like tightening these back up with a flat head. Super frustrating. I'd rather just grab the appropriate size socket. But feeling kind of lazy. This is two different size sockets. Looks like it's probably a 6 and an 8. But I don't feel like figuring it out. I don't know if I have enough coolant or water to top this off with, but if I do, we could try filling it up and seeing if it leaks any. Why don't we try that? Since we don't know if it's fixed, water's free. I think I have about a half gallon. And we might have dumped more than that, but we'll dump what we have in here and see what happens. All right, I'm adding a half gallon of water. Keep an eye right there. Let me know what happens. Oh no, we didn't fix it. Dang. That's sad. Well, there we go. Looks good from afar, but far from good. Let's see if it'll hold. Nope, that didn't fix it. Great. Did we do anything at all there? I don't know. Are we gonna find out? You betcha. Nope, still leaking, albeit not as much. Realistically, here's the plan. It doesn't leak that much. Every time I go to use it, I'll top it off. It'll drip down. Has extremely high capacity. Not worried about it running out. It's leaking from way up high on the radiator. I think it's just fine like it is. We just need this machine to be good enough to be operable. It doesn't have to be pristine. It leaks everything else. What's a little coolant? Let's see how bad it's leaking. Now that I got that hose back on, I'm gonna dump the rest of my water in here and see what it looks like. Now the rest of my water is only about a quart, so here goes nothing. Oh yeah, it's leaking every bit as bad as it was before. In order for this machine to be operable again, we're just waiting on the little T-fitting for the diesel line to come in the mail. So let's put the hood back on in order to cover it up and keep the rain out in the meantime. Youch, that's hot. Gloves. Smart. That'll at least keep the rainwater off those injectors until the parts come in. All right, she'll sit right there until next time. Hello again. It is 2 weeks later. I have parts. So this came in the mail. It's another one of those T-fittings that we'll need. Also brought a couple of different options for degreaser. So let's get this thing fixed. You're now looking straight down at the top of the engine. Just a reminder, this one's okay. This one's broken. This one's broken. We'll clean this area of this one a little bit before we put this back together, but we're not going to worry about getting all this gunk off like we are with these other two. I have just some Zep Purple Power degreaser mixed up here and an old toothbrush. Also brought some brake cleaner. My GoPro is being a wimp. It says it overheated. I don't have this off yet. So we're just using 2 wrenches here, putting this one kind of on this line, using this one to turn the first, just gently wiggling this back and forth. It's wiggly. Let's see if it'll wiggle up. Maybe you can use a screwdriver to get a little lift on it here. It's a tough angle. There we go. Can't really reach that screwdriver handle. Dang it. Nothing to pry on this side. Easy does it. A little more left and right here. All right, one down, one to go. Let's clean around this a little bit, and it'll give us kind of a clean surface to reinstall this back on later. So caked up with junk, that socket doesn't want to go on. Okay, we'll kind of pull this line back and cover it up. I don't have the directions, but I just watched somebody's video who said the directions say not to pry here. I don't see any other way, unless you had some kind of a slide hammer you could put on here. So instead of don't pry, we'll take that to read pry very gently. Perhaps pry very gently and at your own risk. I can put a little upward pressure on this bracket while I rotate. That might do it. Oh yeah, here it comes. Sweet, that's a better way to do it. Okay, let me leave that in. There's a little gunk there. It's so funny. There's a portion of that injector that's impeccably clean, and any portion that was exposed is just the most disgusting thing there ever was. Let me find a clean rag to shove in that hole. Looking online how this works, this retainer nut and the T-fitting screw together here, and they pinch a kind of rubber grommet, and as they pinch the grommet expands and closes down on the injector. That's what kind of seals it all together. So I can spin this, but it won't come off. I thought mistakenly that if I took this out, there'd be a way for me to slide it off that way, which is not the case. There's only 2 things I can do here. I can either cut this off to give us access to do the new one, or I can go online and order some new injectors. Just looked, I can get all 4 injectors for $100. I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's a week later. I bought new injectors. I got these online. These injectors were going to be either $40 a piece or 4 for $100. I needed 2 of them right now, so I went ahead and bought all 4. $80 versus $100. It's not a huge difference, and I'll have the other 2 if I ever need them in the future. I don't dare go ahead and replace the other 2 because I'm scared that we'll break something in the process of taking them out. So we'll just leave those alone and go with just these 2 for now. We should be ready just to pull these rags out, drop the injectors in, and start putting things back together. I know that once we get these put in, we're going to have to bleed the diesel system, so we'll get to that in a minute. But first things first, let's get these injectors in and everything buttoned up. Take out our protective rags here. And I'm going to have to kind of remind myself how this all went together. So the injector will go like this. It has this little plate on top. It holds it down. Does it go? Okay, it definitely goes this way. And then, if I remember right, that goes underneath the plates from the screw there. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna grab a little diesel. Just lubricate this seal a bit. See if it'll slide a little easier. God, I hope these threads actually match. Something tells me getting this to line up might not be the easiest thing I've ever done. Yeah, it's actually going. Man, okay, that was way easier than I imagined. Ooh, that sounds kind of gritty, grimy, but as good as we're gonna get. Oh, hold that thought. We broke through our protective rag here. Let's see. Pinky's pretty clean. Tell you what we don't want to do is send a bunch of dirt directly into the injector right off the bat. That wouldn't be a good start. 9/16. One thing that makes me nervous is there's like a little Allen head on top of these injectors. I noticed it was a flat head on the old ones. That doesn't really matter. The mechanism looks the same. What I'm concerned about is that that means it's probably adjustable. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to trying to adjust anything with that. I'm going to leave it where it came from the factory and hope that that works. And if it doesn't, then I guess we'll have to address it. Okay, here's one of our broken T-fittings. I'm going to take this apart and replace this with a fresh one. I don't remember how we took this apart, but that doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get it to go back together that way. Let's tighten this all up, and then we'll have to see about bleeding out the air. So, when you're going to bleed the diesel, or bleed the air out of your diesel system, does anybody know? Are you supposed to crack open the low pressure or high pressure lines? Yeah, me neither. Okay, well, I think that'll probably even out on its own. I don't know, but worth a try. I'm looking right here. This has been just kind of rigged up in the past. So we've got a hose where a hard line's supposed to be. This hose clamps onto this hard line right here. I don't know if maybe there used to be another clamp on it right there that is now missing, or just what the deal is. But either way, I'm going to loosen this up, shove that down a little bit, see if I can't find a zip tie or clamp to put on this, and then put this back together, see if we can get it to stop. Well, beggars can't be choosers. I'd like to tell you that I'll come back and put another one of these clamps on just, you know, next week or tomorrow or something. But you know what they say, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary fix. Guess that's as tight as it gets. I'm gonna give it a little throttle. Yeah, it didn't sound good. something kind of clicking. I think the clicking I'm hearing is this belt jumping around. Let me snug that up a little bit. See if I can get it off of that bolt before we rub it through. Okay, let's look at this. I installed this alternator not too long ago, and it has this mounting bolt here. The head of the bolt's on this side, the nut's over here. The nut side sticks out farther than the head of the bolt would without those washers. And I don't know if you can see or not, but the belt is contacting that end. So let's take this out and flip it around the other direction so that the head of the bolt's over here, and we'll give that belt a little more clearance. Oh, I remember now. Crap. The solution is probably that we need to take a link out of our belt. This is a link belt. The belt on this broke probably a year ago, and I found this stuff. In order to properly replace the belt, you have to take apart the entire front end, because there's a pulley down there at the bottom that is the hydraulic pump, and it goes straight forward into the frame. There's no way to take an old belt off or put a new belt on with it intact without disassembling the entire front end of the machine. So I discovered this stuff. This is a link belt. It's just a V belt in variable length that you can take apart and put back together. It's used most commonly on shop equipment. Think like drill press or something like that. Let's try taking 2 links out. Let's see what that does for us. As with any kind of awesome workaround, found mixed opinions on the internet as to whether this was an okay thing to do. The general consensus was that no, you should never ever under any circumstances do this. But there were accounts of people doing it and having good success, which was enough for me. This is another one of those that I said to myself, self, when you have more free time, we'll take apart this backhoe and give it a proper belt. The proper free time has not yet presented itself. So it's a temporary fix that's lasted a long, long time. When I bought this, I expected it wouldn't last long, so I bought enough to make 2 or 3 of these belts. But so far, I haven't had to replace it. Kind of got it, but it's twisted right here. I jumped it off. The reason I wanted to do that is the further out this way the alternator goes, the closer it gets to that bolt that we were rubbing on. The way that you fully tension this is you snug this up just a little bit, pull out on this, and then you tighten that down. Still coming pretty far out, but better than it was for sure. We'll give that a go. All right, brief update. Number 1, it's cold-ish outside now. Yep, it's been a minute. Number 2, we fixed the backhoe. So, I tried soldering back in that part of the radiator. I couldn't get it to stay, couldn't get it to not leak. And so I did the right thing and I just replaced the whole radiator in the backhoe. Nope, that's a lie. I didn't do that. That's what I probably should have done, and will eventually have to, but things like 400 bucks. So a guy went down to the store, picked up the tube of the finest JB weld that they sell, and just caked it on there such that there's no possible way that it could leak, and it's holding up for now. After we finished that, another injector started leaking, took that out, replaced it with a new one I already had on hand. Not that big a deal. So she's up and running. Diesel fuel, diesel, $20 worth of diesel.